All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to grab our digital detective hats and jump right into a topic that, let's be honest, drives us all crazy sometimes: network troubleshooting. We're going to break it all down and give you a super clear, step-by-step guide to solving those totally frustrating connection problems.
You know the feeling. We've all been there, right? You're in the middle of something important, maybe streaming a movie, and bam, it's gone. That dreaded little icon pops up. You're completely disconnected, and that's the moment of panic. The big question is, what now? Where do you possibly start?
You start with a plan. We're going to follow a 5-step method, just like a real detective on a case. First, we'll gather our clues. Then, we'll examine the physical scene. After that, we follow the digital trail with some key commands, do some advanced investigation if we have to, and finally, we'll solve the case and wrap it all up with our toolkit. So let's get into it.
Okay, so first things first. Any good investigation, any good detective work starts by asking the right questions. Before you even think about touching a cable, you have to get the lay of the land.
So you got to think like a detective interviewing a witness. Even if you're the only witness, you need to get specific. Is the internet just kind of slow, or is it totally dead? When did this happen? Just now? Has it been acting weird all day? Is it just your computer, or is your phone offline too? And are you seeing any weird error messages? And here's the big one. Did anything at all change right before it broke? A new router, a software update? Getting these answers is going to narrow down the list of suspects like you wouldn't believe.
Once we have that initial report, it's time to actually go to the scene of the crime. And when it comes to networks, that means looking at the physical hardware. You would be absolutely shocked how often the case is solved right here.
I know. It sounds almost too simple, right? But seriously, do not skip this step. A cable that got bumped loose by the dog or the vacuum cleaner is a classic villain in these stories. Just go to each one and give it a little push. Make sure it's snug. There's a reason "is it plugged in" is the first question in tech support.
Those little blinky lights, they are talking to you. They're telling you a story. Think of them as tiny little traffic signals for your internet. Usually, a solid green light means everything's good to go. But if you see a blinking light, or an amber light, or, a red light, that is a huge clue that something is wrong. A quick Google search for your router's model will tell you exactly what those colors and patterns mean.
Ah yes, the classic. The one you've been waiting for. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Look, it's a cliché for a reason. It actually works a lot of the time. Rebooting your gear, your router, your modem, even your computer can clear out all sorts of weird, temporary glitches and memory leaks. It's a totally valid and, honestly, powerful first move before you start pulling your hair out. Okay, so the physical checks are done and still no luck. So now our investigation has to go digital. It's time to get our hands dirty, open up a command prompt, and use some essential tools to follow the data and see exactly where it's getting lost.
Before we can use any tools, we need to talk about the most basic piece of this whole puzzle, the IP address. And the analogy here is perfect. It's just like a house number on a street. Every single device, your computer, your phone, your tablet, needs its own unique address so data packets know where to deliver the mail. If you don't have one, you're basically invisible.
So how do you find out what your address is? Super simple. If you're on a Windows machine, you'll open up the command prompt and type ipconfig. On a Mac or a Linux system, you open the terminal and type ipadd, or on older systems, ifconfig. You'll see a bunch of info, but what you're looking for is that IPv4 address.
Okay, now this is a huge clue. Pay attention to this one. If your IP address starts with 169.254, that's your computer screaming for help. It's basically saying, hey, I asked the router for an address, but it never gave me one, so I just made one up. This tells you pretty much instantly that the problem is with something called DHCP, which is how the router hands out addresses. The problem is definitely inside your own house.
So you've confirmed you have a real IP address, not one of those made-up ones. What's the very next step? Well, it's time for the first digital test. Can you even reach the outside world? Can you ping it?
Think of the ping command like shouting Marco and waiting to hear Polo back. When you type ping 8.8.8.8, you're sending a tiny little signal out to one of Google's public servers and asking, hey, are you there? If you get replies back, awesome. That means your connection to the big wide internet is probably working. If you get timeouts, well, that confirms you're cut off from the outside world.
So,
If ping doesn't get a reply, the next obvious question is, why? Where did it get stuck? And for that, we have traceroute, or traceroute if you're on Windows. This command is like sending out a scout to map the entire journey your data takes, hop by hop, from your computer to your router and across the internet. If the map suddenly stops in the middle of nowhere, you've just found the scene of the crime.
Let's say the basics haven't cracked it. The mystery is deeper than a loose cable or a simple reboot. Now our detective needs to pull out the forensic kit, the more advanced tools, and really dig in.
Now we're digging into the nitty-gritty. For instance, NSLOOKUP helps you check for DNS problems. That's the internet's phone book. It's when you can ping 8.8.8.8 just fine, but you can't get to google.com. Or you might have a duplicate IP address, where two different devices are fighting over the same house number, causing total chaos. These are the trickier culprits for sure, but finding them is how you solve the really tough cases.
So, by following this method, we've gone from a total mystery to a very specific set of clues. Now, let's put it all together, look at the toolkit you've just built, and talk about the final and maybe most crucial step.
So here it is, your very own Network Detectives toolkit. We used ipconfig to check our ID, ping to see if anyone was home, and traceroute to follow the map. This chart here is your cheat sheet. It summarizes those key tools and even points you toward more advanced stuff like Wireshark for when you're ready to really go deep. Keep this handy.
And this might be the most important part of the whole process, and it's the one almost everybody skips. Once you find the fix, whether it was a bad setting, a weird firewall rule, whatever, write it down. Just a quick note, here were the symptoms, here's what I tried, and here's what finally fixed it. Why? Because you're leaving clues for the next detective, who is probably going to be you.
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. Getting your network back up and running is great, but becoming a real pro is about making it easier to solve the next problem. So, your network is working now. That's awesome. But is your case file ready for the next mystery? Thanks for tuning in to The Explainer.